transformational change, a total 180. Hey, my friend, welcome back to another Total 180 interview. I'm so excited to be able to share with you the value that you're going to get in today's interview. If you're new to this private Facebook mastermind group, please do me a big favor. Use the Start Here post to use some of the resources that we're going to have available for you in this private Facebook group. And today we got an incredible interview for you. I got my good friend Bryan here to kind of share with you guys what he's doing in his life and his business, his service in the military, and how he's making an impact in his family and in his community. But I just want to go ahead and welcome Bryan Jacobs to the Total 180 interview, brother. How are you, man?
Good, man. I really appreciate it. Thanks for the invite. I'm living in sunny Florida, so we can't complain.
Hey, I got to move out there one of these days because I heard it's nothing but beautiful weather and beautiful women.
We're not lacking on either. I'll say that.
So Bryan, if you can just kind of share with us, where you are right now as far as your business is concerned, and kind of tell the people who you are, what you do, and how you got to doing that.
So we're in initial launch phase. We're in startup mode. I've been working on this project for many years. When I say many years, it started out completely different what it's ended up. It's started out as, it's always been about how can I make a difference in lives? How can I make a difference in community? But how can I do that through my own passion? How can I do that with the gifts God's given me and go out there and make a difference in lives? And so right now we're about 30 days out from launch of what we're doing. I'm a very old school perspective when it comes to food and how we treat people. And this has to be what my business is about. It's got to be really community focused. It's got to be built around things that matter. It's got to be about the way we do food. It's got to be about the passion behind it. And so we started a concept called the Liberty Smokehouse. And it's chef inspired, purpose driven, artisanal smokehouse fare. That's who we are. We do good food and we treat people right. And if we don't do that, then there's not going to be a reason to exist. And it speaks to my heart. It speaks to where I've come from, the walk of life I've had, and the walk of life I'm going to take.
Incredible. So for those of us, that joined the military and kind of got, away from our hometown, what was it like for you when you said, I want to leave my hometown, I want to join the military? Was it something that you were afraid of initially, or when you made that decision, you was like, I know this is the best decision for me right now, especially considering that I'm not where I want to be in my life?
It's funny. I think, it's the walk of life. And it's actually, I had this conversation the other day. It's about free will, and every choice we make, there is a choice that is being made after that. And we don't actually see the significance of the choice or the value of the choice until many years later. Looking back, had I not made the choice to join the military, and looking back where I'm from a really small town of Mapdot. I mean, before that, I was a child of the world. My dad was military. He was 20 years Navy SEAL, Master Arms, did all kinds of cool stuff. And we ended up, in a very small town south of Elizabeth City, North Carolina, that you drive through with one stoplight and McDonald's. And I was a surfer kid, and I ended up, people wearing orange hats and Carhartt jackets and had rifles in their back window. I just did not fit. So it was choices, at the end of the day, you realize, even then you realize there's something different. You realize you're different, and you have this feeling in you to go look for it. And I think, it's funny is a lot of people go, well, why did you join the military? And I said, well, I wanted to find myself in a way. I wanted to understand what I was about, but there was a journey that had I not gone on, I would not be the man I am. I would not have the vision I have. I would not have the discipline I have, the organization I have, the attention to detail. I would not have any of it. And it was something my grandfather wanted me to do. It was every male in my family served in the military. I wanted to be the first male in my family to go to college. I wanted to be the first one with a degree. I still am.
Wow.
And I'm still the first one with master's degrees. First one with bachelor's. I'm the first one. All those things are accomplishable, but they're steps. And again, God is going to guide you. And if he doesn't need you to take those steps, he eventually will want you to, but he's going to lead you in the path that's going to get you there on the way that he needs you to get there. And I wouldn't change any of it.
That's powerful because the Bible talks about, acknowledging the Lord in all your ways and he would direct thy paths. It says, a good man's steps are ordered by the Lord. And I know that, that speaks to me as well, because, a lot of the times when we're in the service, or when we're making the transition to join the service, the steps, itself look cloudy. It's a
Hmm.
different walk of life. We're so used to, our hometown and some of the struggles that we had growing up, that sometimes that path looks a little grim. But being that we have our hope and our trust is in Christ, we understand that he's going to get us through every different circumstance and battle that we deal with in our lives. So when you joined the military, was it like an initial goal for you to kind of emulate what your dad did, serve 20 years? Or did you want to just kind of play it by contract before you made that decision to go all in and do 20 plus years?
I had no clue actually. I knew I wanted to be a Navy SEAL. That was actually why I joined the Navy. Actually tried to go in the Air Force, but the Air Force recruiter was out for lunch for 3 days. And
Oh,
on the,
God. And what is the irony, right? Like,
yeah. And I
oh,
was like,
God.
I'm thinking now, like, dang, I should have came back for that fourth day. But
Oh, God.
it was interesting is because when I went into the Navy, I had no clue what I was signing up for. I actually qualified pretty well in the ASVAB and could have been a nuke tech or it could have been a Navy corpsman is what I qualified for. And I don't want to say hoodwinked, but I got hoodwinked into being a Navy corpsman because they threw the term hot young doctors and nurses in front of me, and that's what I wanted. And come to find out, down at the bottom page was this FMF thing, and I had no clue what FMF was, and they were like, it's optional. Well, all that changed on day one, hour one in Corps School, where I had a chief that basically told 71 people in a room that 99% of the males in this class are going to Fleet Marine Force. The average lifespan in Navy combat and corpsman is less than 30 seconds. Who wants to leave? And I raised my hand. He's like, you want to leave? I said, no, Chief, I thought this was optional. He goes, that's your option. And
Hmm.
one of the most amazing jobs, probably the best job I'll ever have in my life because of the significance and the value of what I represented.
Hmm.
Not to mention, we started with 70 some people in the class. We graduated with 22 of them. Out of that 20 of us went to Fleet Marine Force. Out of that 20, I think 7 graduated from my class.
Hmm.
And so when they talk about the few and the proud, there's more respect that goes into that from my perspective as a Navy corpsman who's FMF than there was for somebody who, no disrespect to anybody who serves. It's just I loved what I did because it took a different level of service.
Wow. Man, that's huge, because I think all of us in the military have that moment of truth when we can either go into the unknown or turn back to our comfort zone. And
Yeah,
and we both know that in your comfort zone you can't grow at all,
you don't
right?
grow.
Especially considering that, some of the people that we look up to, whether in life or in the Bible, had to get out of their comfort zone, had to leave their hometown, have to leave their, what they used to know or what they were okay with. And the fact that you made
Well,
that decision to say, like, I'm raising my hand, like I thought this was an option, but I'm going to go in always. That speaks
yeah.
volumes to me.
Well,
Go ahead.
what's interesting about it is though in the Bible they talk about seeds grow in darkness, and
Mm,
I think a lot of who we are as people is darkness is the unknown.
mm,
The purpose is to grow to the light. The purpose is to grow to a different level of self-actualization.
mm,
Um, and I think it's important because a lot of veterans continue to live in darkness, yet they're not seeking the light.
mm.
And I think that's a big issue once you get out, is that you don't find purpose in your service, you don't find purpose in yourself. And there's something unique if you look back at your journey and what you've been through. You yourself are a light, and other people are in darkness. And you have to realize your own worth and your value in this process. And I think it's important, especially when you're in service or you're serving or whatever you're doing, to realize there's a purpose in that darkness. There's a purpose for you to go through in this part of your life. And I've been through a lot of trials and tribulations in order to be able to look back and say, thanks God for all of it.
Wow, man, that's incredible. So, at that point when you made that decision to go all in and serve, what was the, I guess you could say the turning point where it was like, okay, it's time for me to close this chapter and kind of really walk into a little bit more of what God has called for me to do? What was that turning point that made you want to say, you know what, I'm gonna get out, I'm gonna pursue this, and God is gonna be with me every step of the way? What was that turning point for you?
Actually, to go back a little bit to your other question, I wanted to do 20. Unfortunately, as a Navy corpsman, we were still regulated by the Department of Navy, not the Marine Corps, as far as orders, NECs, MOSs, billets, and orders were being cut to me from a gentleman sitting in a cubicle in Millington, Tennessee, and here I was in the middle of Iraq in '05 in Anbar, and so it was interesting because I wanted some downtime. I'd been in operation status since '03, did the invasion, did the Battle of Nasiriyah, did every major firefight engagement from Nasiriyah to Tikrit, and got back and was operational tempo for double CACs, Vipers, Mount Towns, tons of range time, and you were on the go. We went back in '05. '05 was a different fight. '05 was a different new rules of engagement. There was no. We were riding around, sitting ducks. And unfortunately, I saw a lot of things I didn't value about who we were as a fighting force. I was not obviously enough to make decisions, but I was sitting there to live with the decisions that were being made, which is very hard, especially when it's your brothers that are getting killed in action.
Mm.
So I asked for billet to go to a Navy detachment to just take some downtime. And a hard part, as you know, there is no such thing as weak moments in the military. Weakness is looked upon as a medical separation. And as a Navy corpsman who's been in combat for over 22 months, we don't know how to turn off what's been turned on. And it's unfortunate that we have two choices to make. We either go outside the wire and we turn it off at getting out of the military and have to deal with it, or we stay in and we deal with it. And the problem is that it's not an option to stay in and deal with it. And I just wanted some downtime. I wanted a billet, embassy duty, something. I just wanted something different. So they cut me orders to Navy Norfolk Clinic, and but there wasn't a set of detached orders. And I knew with my NEC that I was an operator and I was able to be deployed quite quickly. So I called from Iraq to the Navy detach up in the clinic and asked what were my detached orders. And he goes, "You're deaded back to 2nd Marine Division." And I was like, okay. He's like, "Why are you even leaving? You're going to get here, check in, and I'm going to send you right back. They're in low quota, so you're gone." So wait, I'm leaving here to move there to pack out again to go back there. Yeah. And so I called the detailer and asked him what was going on. Why can't I get a billet? He's like, "Choose your rate, choose your fate."
Wow.
And that was kind of a kick in the throat. And that was about November 3rd. I detached from Iraq November 5th, was out of the Marine Corps November 12th. And it was hard because I wanted to serve. I love serving. It was something different about that reflection in the mirror that made you feel a little bit more proud with the ribbons and medals on your chest. And I love serving next to heroes. I love walking in places and being in places with people who you'll never serve again with, but they're the bravest that have ever been called. And it was something that I knew that this was that once in a lifetime experience. And it was something that, it also what kind of hurt you going forward is, who am I? Because I knew who HM3 FMF Jacobs was. I didn't know who Bryan Jacobs was.
Wow. That's deep, man. Oh man, that I can correlate to a lot of the epiphany where you're like, I went by IT2 Scott, for 6+ years, and just kind of figuring out, man, who is Adam though? Like, I don't even know that guy anymore.
Nope.
Like, you're so conditioned to respond to IT2 or HMF3. It's constant, and then when you get out and you look at yourself in the mirror, you're like, who am I really? Like who am I in this world? And it's kind of hard to, like you said, detach, because when you served around heroes, when you served around very selfless people who sacrifice so much to do what it is that, people that are civilians don't understand we have to go through. It's like, I love it, right? I love the service. And, I think a little bit to kind of talk about what you're talking about is, my defining moment was when my dad had a stroke, and I realized that if I was out to sea, if I was in the middle of the ocean, if I was, deployed on, the Bush or the Lincoln or whatever, carrier I was attached to,
Yeah.
I don't know when I'm coming home. I can't even
Well,
contact my dad.
it's funny you say that. So my mom got diagnosed with multiple sclerosis. Um,
Sorry about
my
that, brother.
first my first month over there,
Mm,
and back in '05, and it completely shook me. And the problem is I'm up for orders, I'm up for re-up, and I'm like, and I hate to say this was literally could have been the last 9 months of my mother's life, and I would not have known it, and I was going to be gone.
mm,
And it was, when I talked about the hardest thing, the stomach. um it's different, and no disrespect, I know that when you're overseas and you're serving, that is your family. But and I would say this out of the greatest respect to the Marine Corps, greatest respect to the armed services. When I got out, where were they?
mm,
They weren't there.
right.
And they and it was, it went from this piece of being in the military and saying, well, hey, this is your family now. You're in line of service, good to go. You're right. These are my brothers, but where are you going to be? And it didn't hit me then, it hit me now. And I'm not a selfish person, but in the sense of, that's my mom, that's my blood. This is who's brought me into the world. You know, she's actually given me to the Marine Corps in a way.
Yeah.
So,
You have to sign that
including,
paper. Yeah.
yeah, including my younger brother at the same time.
Mhm.
Um, and it hurt, because you're right. There was that defining piece, and that kind of did hit me. Is like, don't get me wrong, my brothers, when I was downrange, that's my family, left, right, but front, back, that's who's got my six, that's who I have their six. But there was that piece where the Marine Corps is like, mission first, we're sorry. And
Mm.
I'm like, wow, okay. And that kind of was like a stomach moment for me, just like you. I may lose one of the greatest gifts God's ever given me as a mother.
Mm.
And it hurt. And at the time, of course, there were certain people who couldn't understand that. And I could care less about their opinions in life, to be honest with you. And unfortunately, on this walk of life, you kind of have to. You've learned the noise and the lies that other people form about you. You can't let them be dictated to your own mindset, because if you do, that's what's going to stop you from becoming you. And because they're going to define you when you have no definition, and then you're going to let those lies be lived, and that's a horrible way to live.
Mm.
So
I really do. Uh, man, I'm kind of speechless for words, man, because a lot of what you're saying, it really speaks not just to me, man. Just imagine the amount of, sailors, soldiers, and service members who feel the exact same way. Like I've given my everything to this.
yep,
I've given my I mean, I've sacrificed taking leave days. I've sacrificed spending, time with my family. I've missed birthdays, anniversaries.
yep,
Some people have children, they've missed their child's first steps. But like you
yep,
said, where are you now? That's
yep.
huge, man. So if there was one thing you had wish you knew prior to getting out of the Navy, what would it have been? And if somebody's listening to this and watching this and maybe replaying this, what is one thing you wish you knew prior to getting out of the Navy that you could speak to them and kind of talk to them about that transition when they're getting out?
It's to have a personal strategic plan of growth. And I'm talking about, not about, oh, my job. I'm talking about your emotional, your mental, your spiritual, and your physical plan. Because when you get out, it all goes to hell, every
Mm,
bit of it. Because the problem is that you're so used to being told where to be, how to act, how to look, how to think, how to feel. When you get out, there's nobody telling you any of these things, and you will dilapidate and lose all aspect of who, and your identity is taken from you, like we said. And if you don't start to learn that person, if you don't start to learn personal development, you don't start to understand what emotional intellect is, if you don't understand how to start your own PT regime, if you don't understand organization of your bills, you don't understand what a strategic plan to start to develop you as a academia or into a business, or in any aspect of your life that you're unsure what's next, you better start making a plan of what's next. And what I've learned is most people fail on the emotional mental aspect. And these are the people, no disrespect, they end up getting out and it's hard and they want to go back in because they don't have a plan. Every business, you or yourself, you're a business. You as your own person is a business. And if you don't have a plan to succeed, you're going to be one of these people, just like I was. I did it. I tried to go back in and the military told me no, they didn't need me. And I was like, oops. And who was I? And now I'm like, okay, now I'm stuck with this person I don't even know. And we don't even get along because you think differently than I'm supposed to be acting. The world around you doesn't understand you. You don't understand them. You don't fit. And you just want to go back to comfort. And no, there is no going back. So if you're on your way out, and look, let me tell you that if you're 6 months on your way out, you better start. I would have started 9 months before I got out. Understanding, having a plan, having a dream board, having a strategic plan, all these things that we learn after we get out, things that are going to take us to be successful on the outside, your networking, your vision of who you want to become mentally, emotionally, physically, and spiritually, get it all aligned.
That's huge, man. So, your first 5 years out of the Navy, what was that like for you? What was that transition like? I had to ask because you were telling me like, man, I can't cope with myself, man. Y'all don't understand me. You don't understand. Like, what was that first 5 years out of the military, out of the Navy like for you? And how did you kind of walk into, what you're doing now?
I didn't, the thing is, I fell forward, and thank God. Because had I fallen as back as far as and at that moment when I got out, I was like a lot of people. I had the grass is greener on the other side perspective, and had no plan. I had no perspective. Emotionally, I didn't understand myself. I had PTSD. I had some other things going on. I was self-medicating, but I also didn't know any of these things. And it ended up putting me in a very bad place. I became homeless. And I was homeless long enough to, to understand that there was better choices to be made, and that I was the person responsible for the will that I had chosen. And it was something that my grandfather had said to me a long time ago, which was, you're gonna have to get your life together, son, because no one else will for you. And these words echoed, and I don't know if it's somebody who walked by me, but I was living in Hampton Roads, Virginia, underneath the Hampton Roads Bay Bridge Tunnel, right next to the VA, out of my mobile home, as I call it, my Honda Accord.
I live over there. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
So that's where I was homeless at. Okay. I was homeless right there in the Hampton Newport News area. I was 33 jobs later, still had no clue who I was. I've been fired from most of them. Because I wasn't a salesman. I couldn't lie to people. I had too much integrity at the time. I didn't know how to.
We know what that's like.
Yeah, and I just didn't.
Yeah, honor, courage, commitment. Yeah,
yeah.
I just couldn't. In civilian life. Yeah,
it does. It was horrible because I couldn't. There's a difference between sales talk and being able to, have swagger, and I didn't have that ability to ask somebody to do something I wouldn't do. And there was a bunch of hard lessons. I sold everything from air conditioners to health insurance, life insurance. The jobs I finally landed and stayed with I was a bouncer at Saddle Ridge, which was a country bar, which is now called NASCAR or something like that, over near Bass Pro Shop. Okay. It's just south of Patrick Henry Mall, off of the main line there. Then I was a phlebotomist, and then I was a personal trainer. Being a bouncer was a bad idea because I had a temper. I had PTSD, and I had an alcohol issue, and it all that caught up with me quickly. And I finally when I had this epiphany, or this calling, and it was, I don't know who it was or what happened, but the words echoed. I went and did and went back to something I loved, which was food. And I had been cooking since I was about 8 years old. And reason being is my grandfather was a chef. My dad, old school Southern cook himself, all Southern Georgia. We smoke, eat everything, hunt, grow our own food. And my grandfather was a German chef, World War II, on a tin can out of the harbor at one time. Everything from scratch. Everything had brown gravy on it. So yes, I was a fat kid, but it was good, And it just so happened my mud pies looked really good as a kid. I decorated properly. I could paint and draw. I had this artsy outlet, and there was something about it that called to me, spoke to me. And I often tell people now, food saved me.
Mm.
And as I realized, listening to more of the Bible and going through the stories that, because people say God was a carpenter, well, he's actually a craftsman, and he was somebody who had all skills and trades, and he was sourcing ingredients when he chose me, and he knew that I was going to be an ingredient he needed in a bigger picture, and I
Wow.
didn't know it then.
That's deep, man. That's deep. Man, I'm about to get chills over here, man. That's deep, man. Because, man, I think there's a specific scripture that talks about how all things work together for the good of those that love him are called according to his purpose.
Purpose.
And it's amazing how what the enemy used for harm, God uses for our advantage.
Mhm.
Like
Oh,
it's just, I mean, just I can relate to you so much because growing up as a kid, we were homeless. We slept in cars. We ate free lunch. I went to school with holes in my pants, and
yep.
Navy was a great escape for me. And one thing I realized is like your gift. The Bible says your gift shall make room for you, and it shall put you before great men. And it's amazing how sometimes it takes like months, if not years, if not decades, for us to really walk into our gift. Because no matter how much we try to run from it, hide from it, duck it, you know, shake it, weave it, bob it, your gift and your calling, it's predestined. It's on the inside of you. And the Bible
Mhm.
says he knew us before we were formed in our mother's womb. So he knew that you were going to do that. It was just a matter of us as human beings catching up to what God
Yep.
had written already about us, and having that
It's
destiny.
it's it's free will,
Mm,
because he gives you the choice to make the steps that he has in his plan for you, but you choose to live your steps. Often when we take baptism, we often don't realize that we give our life to Christ, we give our hearts, but we don't give our minds. we
mm.
don't give that we don't give that free will to him. We want to still take it for us, and he's going to let us take it, but he's also going to let us learn the lessons that we choose to take.
Mm, that's deep, man. I mean, you're speaking to so many people right now. You have no idea. I mean, I'm pretty sure they're watching, they're listening, they're replaying this, and I mean, I'm pretty sure listening to this, they're gonna be like, man, I need to know how to get that. So, kind of talk to us about how you got to what you're doing right now. So you said, God used cooking to really kind of, start that next level for you. I think it talks about how in the word that he that began a good work in you shall finish it into the day of our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ, right? So, kind of talk about how that catapulted you into the business that you do now and why it was so transformational for you to kind of go through those things so that you can be in the place that you're at right now.
So when I talked about getting purpose in darkness or finding purpose in pain, there's truth to this. So Memorial Day weekend 2014, God really helped me kind of seek what my calling in life was. At that point in time, I was a chef, had many years since my homelessness, was living in Florida. I had great accolades, was back in school at USF getting understudy or undergrad in business and entrepreneurship and hospitality, was cooking for great people, was doing all these great things. And then Memorial Day weekend, that Saturday morning, I got a call from my father saying my brother took his life. And he was a Marine Corps veteran himself, and that he
Mhm.
could no longer live with his pain. Both of us served in the invasion in 2003 together. And I was in Task Force Tora. He was on our flank. We both went back in 04, 05. He was in 04 to 05. I was in all of 05. And both of us got out. We're homeless. Both of us got out. And when I say food saved me, um, God started that process back when I was 8 years old. My younger brother had habitually started, losing his peace, his calling, his soul to the devil. And at that time, I did not understand why. Why was I chosen? Why did you choose to save me and not him? And immediately there was something put on me. It's like, there's got to be a purpose why. And so I didn't ask why. I got away from the questions of why him and not me, and said, what should I do? What can I do? How do I do this? And I went out to this thing out in St. Louis called Focus. It's for wounded Navy corpsmen and Marines and SF and stuff like that. And I had a Marine come up to me, and I'm there. Everybody knew I was supposed to be there in May. My brother taking his life. And then I took time, left school, took some personal time, and I immediately went out this Focus thing. And this Marine came up to me. He goes, "Can I ask you a question?" And I was like, "Yeah, what's going on?" He's like, "What are you going to do with the gift of your brother's death?"
Mm.
And I was mad, and I was so angry. And I went to my group leader, and I was like, this guy, this I literally was probably at this time, it was like this, dip hole was like, you just asked me what I was gonna do with the gift of my brother's death. And the guy started crying. And I was like, what's wrong? And I mean, this grown man crying, Marine. And he was like, so I just want you to know his son killed himself last week, Marine. And he's here so that others don't. And so you need to think about that. And so I went up to him, gave him a hug, because right during that time I was handling a lot of guilt, a lot of survivor's guilt. Like, why didn't he call me? Did my brother not know I loved him enough? I failed as a brother in arms. I failed as an older brother. I didn't take care of him. I let you down. Why did I not love you enough? And I was holding all that in my heart. And I knew at that point in time, and I knew, it just hit me. If food saved me, maybe it could save some others. And I came home, and I was at a round table with some people who had more money than they know what to do with, all in hospitality. And I said, I want to start a program where I take homeless vets and I train them to be chefs, and I want to give them identity through food. I want to give them something to live for again. And I said, I don't care where they served, how long they served. I don't even, they could be street homeless right now, but I want to take them from where they're at and put them someplace where they need to be in life. And it started off as a rudimentary program that is just, needless to say, it was like hell week. It was 60 hours of straight work, but it's now transitioned to a 16-week reintegration program that is focused on behavioral health and habit reintegration. So we change the way you look at yourself, much like you look at food. You can never buy a piece of chicken and go, it's a good piece of chicken. You have to see it before and realize what it's going to become. And we don't do that for ourselves. We don't look in the mirror and look at what we're going to become. We look at what we are. And a lot of us are not happy with that reflection. We're not happy with that person we see, but we lack the ability to unlock that what's next. And we have to start to visualize this person where they're at in their lives. And so we go through a lot of alter ego training, which is they get to describe their alter ego. They get to tell them all these fun things they're doing. And eventually they become this alter ego. They start living these things. They go, I want, one of their alter egos wanted to buy a unicycle and ride a unicycle. Eventually the guy came and says, well, instead of, Charlie riding a unicycle, I went and rode it. I said, well, what Charlie do? He watched. They took on the persona of who they wanted to be actually in their mind. And we work through this as they get to pick a dish and they get to become their favorite dish. And one of them I'll never forget was a German chocolate cake. And I was like, I was just blown away by the guy, who he was and everything, where he come from. And we talked about this aspect of things. Now, these are things that they do and they think. This is how mind changing the program is. And this is the things that I've used in myself in my own guidance in order to become a better version of myself mentally, emotionally, physically, and spiritually, is that I realized that if we make German chocolate cake, we have all these ingredients. But if you have bad ingredients in your cake, you're not going to be seen as German chocolate cake should be seen. Just like in our own lives, we have bad ingredients that we need to get rid of, source new ingredients, but we also need to realize they're not easily replaced. You know, if we go get eggs, it's not 3 steps: go to the store, get eggs, come home, use them. You know, there's a chicken involved, there is a farmer involved, there is a get them to the store involved. We've got to go through all these little steps to replace the bad ingredients of our lives. And if we don't do that, then we actually put band-aids on all the things that we should be fixing. And with that, what I've realized, and this is going to be one of the greatest things someone's going to need to hear today, is that all the bad things you went through, the bad relationships, the narcissistic hurt, the people hurting your feelings, these are all beautiful blessings, because you're able to let things come to the surface in your life and you realize your own insecurities for you to heal them, grow from them, and move on from them and start living your best life.
Man, I'm filled with a world of emotions right now because man, sometimes we as human beings, we don't even understand um the magnitude of our altitude. We just don't. Like, I mean,
Yeah.
a lot of what we do, sometimes we do it, try to figure out how we're gonna, make ends meet, or how to put food in the cabinet, or how to keep the lights on, or how to keep gas in the car. But in hindsight, it's like God used that and he bloomed into something beautiful. Because just imagine how many vets that are either homeless or they don't have a purpose, or they feel like they don't have a purpose, comes in contact with you in this program, and now they have that purpose again. They have that fulfillment. Life Going through life without fulfillment and purpose is dangerous, right?
Yeah.
That's a lot of people, you know, probably can relate to working 9 to 5 jobs, or maybe being in the military. And then once they make that jump, once they make that transition, once they make that move, it's like my purpose is gone.
Yep.
And that's huge, man. So before we, kind of close up on this interview, man, because man, you can probably speak to hundreds, if not hundreds of millions of people about what you do. What would you say has been the best part of making this jump to doing what you do now, and how has it really brought meaning and fulfillment to your life? How has it been able to do that for you?
Uh, you know, I'm so blessed to know that God put a purpose on me. But everybody who's listening needs to understand God put a purpose on you too.
Mm,
And we're all born not on accident. And there is a purpose to be fulfilled in your life. You just have to be really understanding that purpose doesn't always come to us in light, comes to us in darkness. All the failure, all the hurt, all the pain, there is somebody behind you that is feeling the same. They're going through the same processes, and your testimony is so important in this world. And this no disrespect to social media, but it's okay to post hard days. You don't have to post the fun bright life that you live, because people don't follow happiness. They follow people they can relate to. They follow people that understand where they've been, where they're going to go, and they want somebody to walk in their shoes, and they want somebody to understand. So this is why I express to people, don't be afraid to express your testimony to somebody in faith, knowing that they too could be having a hard day. They too could be going through something. You'd be so surprised the amount of people in it, and again, this is the hard thing, is don't be afraid to lead with God. So many people are afraid to lead with the word God, and to be faithful in this aspect, that because somebody may need to hear that in their moment. And just, hey, can I pray over you? I've prayed over strangers who have no clue, but they needed it. The healing power of prayer, and you don't know your gifts until you have faith in yourself, the same as the Lord does. And it's taken me a long time to accept that. In fact, in 2017, I wasn't really a man of the Lord. It wasn't until 2018 that I took Christ in and I said, this is, I am you and you are me, and this is your walk, not mine. But I was doing things the Lord had done. There was things happening that happened in the Bible that I was doing and saying without had even read scripture ever in my life. I didn't come from a family of the Bible. I come from a broken home. I come from a divorced family. I come from some things in life that you see in movies that you don't want to see. And but the blessings were there too. And I started looking at the blessings that came from the darkness and knew that there was light to be had.
Man, I can only thank you enough. I can't thank you enough, man, for sharing and imparting the wisdom and the knowledge and the gift that you have for all the people that are listening, watching, and replaying this on display. I mean, I'm just honored to not only be able to interview you, but just honored to call you a brother in Christ, right?
Yes, sir.
And even more honored to call you a brother in arms, because we served in
Yes,
the
sir.
Navy, right? So how can people support your mission, support your cause, support your business? How can people find you and give to your cause for your brother? How can people do that for you, man?
Sure. So the nonprofit is called Vets to Success, VETS, the number 2 success, because that's my mindset, is that we should be on a path to success. And as vets, it's all of us. That is Vets to Success. There's multiple programs. There's Vet to Chef, Vet to Baker, Vet to Brew, and the Vet to Grow program, all strategically organized behind this rehabilitation through behavioral habit and behavioral approaches, but using different opportunities for you to get there. You can find us on vet6.org. We're a 501c3. The new concept called the Liberty Smokehouse. We're going to be starting off here in Tampa Bay. We just signed our new setup. We're going to be a part of Two Shepherds Tap Room right here down there at Buck Stadium. So we're going to be just doing artisanal smoke fire food out of back of a deuce and a half. You can find us on Facebook, Instagram. I am known on Facebook, Instagram as Chef Bryan Jacobs. And so Liberty Smokehouse, Vet to Success, Chef Bryan Jacobs, all the platforms, we would appreciate a like, follow, share, because it's bigger, better together for us. And my goal with the vision of what this is Vet to Success and the Liberty Smokehouse are both built to be strategic mobile platforms where we can come to a city, make a difference through what we love to do through food and people.
Man, you couldn't have ended it any better way. But before I do close up this interview, I want you to give some life to somebody that is in a very dark place right now. Maybe they've lost their purpose. Maybe they got out of the military and they don't know what's next. Maybe they don't have that level of fulfillment that they desire to have in their life. Maybe they're struggling with their Christ walk. Maybe they don't know God. If you could just spend the next 60 seconds to 2 minutes and just pour out your heart to those people, I would just absolutely love it if you got a chance to just pour out your heart and kind of share with somebody that's not in the brightest place how they can get through it, and how you were able to, and we'll close up.
It's actually, we all go through highs and lows, and I too, I go stagnant sometimes. It's not always a bright day for me. There's a lot of clouds in my life. And I heard a story not too long ago. And it was between, it's a story, there was a really foggy pathway, and I was walking through a river, and 2 people are walking through, and the guy was like, I can't see where I'm going. And he goes, well, can you see right in front of you? He goes, yeah. He goes, well, take your next step. You don't have to see where it ends. You don't have to see where you're going long term, but you do have to take the next step. God's going to reward those who reward themselves in the walk. He's going to give to you, not in the fact of you asking, but in fact of you doing. God called people to follow him, and if you didn't follow him, he didn't reward you with the gifts of the follow. So you have to walk in your faith and start by just taking that next step. Whether it's you pick up a book, whether you go to the gym, whether you make a phone call, whether you go see a doctor, whether you admit you have a problem, all these things are a next step. but start to make a plan in your own life where you can start to define who you are. Make some resemblance, write that person down, describe them, think about them daily, and I promise you will become them.
Mm. And the spirit just put something on my heart as you were talking. There are some vets that have contemplated suicide, have contemplated, removing themselves from this earth and leaving here. What would you say to those, veterans, and what would you say to those service members who, I mean, are at that point when they just don't feel like their life is worth it anymore? What would you say to them in their place right now?
Ooh. Um, Something I had to tell myself is that you matter, and regardless of all the lies that you hear in your own heart, your head, regardless of things that you hear outside, you do matter. Um, you are loved. You are needed. Your life has a purpose, um, and don't quit. Just don't quit. Look, I have thought about taking my life so many days after losing my brother because I felt like a failure, and I had to realize that there was something bigger than I, and that I was spared. And what what would I be serving if I quit?
Mhm.
So don't quit. And if you feel like quitting, find somebody who won't let you quit.
That's incredible. There's no better way I could have asked for this interview to go, and an even better way to end it and encourage those that are in the places that they're in. I just cannot thank you enough, Bryan. You did an incredible work in somebody's life, and you probably haven't even met that person. And I can say you've done an incredible work in me today because my heart is overcome with joy knowing that there's people like you who are making it an immediate impact in their community, and even so on a much smaller level in your family. Just imagine how much of an impact you've made. So I just want to send you your flowers, brother. I want to tell you how much I
Thank you, brother.
appreciate you, how
Likewise.
how much I'm blessed by your message. I'm even more touched by your impact, because a lot of people don't realize impact comes before income. And
Yes.
I pray that God gives you both and in an abundance of both, more
Amen. Thank
impact,
you.
more income, and more love for your community. So for those of you that made it to the end of this interview, I just want to tell you we love you, we appreciate you, we thank you for your service. This is, I mean, I can only imagine how many people are going to be, coming to Christ, coming to Vet to Success, coming to Tampa, giving to your nonprofit. And Bryan, again, I want to say thank you so much. We
Of
love you,
course,
we
brother.
appreciate you, we look
I love
forward
you.
to
Appreciate you.
your next interview. You guys be blessed, and to your exponential growth and success. God bless each and every one of you. See you next time.
Amen.
Hey, my friend, I hope you thoroughly enjoyed that interview as much as I did hosting it. And I know you can't wait till the next one comes out. But in the meantime, while you're waiting for the next interview to come out, if you're, listening to this and you're thinking to yourself, man, I really want to implement the stuff that he talked about, and I'm really ready to take my online business to the next level, there's a free training I did where I covered 3 intangible steps to help you start and develop your online business in 90 days or less. Go to atotal180.com/military to get that training there for free. And if you're ready to implement that training, once you've watched it and you've like, Adam, I'm stuck. I really want to go to the next level. I really want to make a total 180, but I'm just not in the right mind frame. And I really need somebody to hold me accountable to my goals, my dreams, and my aspirations. And you want to hop on a call with me or my team, go to atotal180.com/apply and schedule your clarity conversation phone call, and we'll discuss how we can help you implement the framework and my free training. Again, that's atotal180.com/apply, so we can help you implement the framework that you'll get in a free training by hopping on a 15-minute conversation with me or my team. Again, I look forward to sharing with you the next interview to come, and I know for a fact you're going to get incredible value from it. I will catch you in the next one.